We decided that our unit of analysis was going to be decision instances by executives at supply chain sourcing procurement level. So we decided to approach companies that we had very good relationships and we understood them really well, and we had very good connections, and we knew the people that would be the right people to answer our survey. And then we distributed a survey of many questions about what were the changes that were happening in supply chain with respect to a particular product group of a particular division that particular executive had intimate knowledge about decisions that were made within the last 3 to 5 years in changes with respect to where they were sourcing the products. And we had to collect a lot of information, so if someone had all the information in front of them, probably was taking them half an hour to complete a 20-page type of a survey. But in many cases, none of them will have all of the information. They will have to ask other executives within the company or other functional groups to contribute, and definitely took much longer based on all the feedback that we got from our executives. So we had to understand what was the nature of the product group and the characteristics of it, where they were producing it, distributing it, selling it, and the more important thing, what was the decision they faced and the changes that they made. And they had to describe all of it, and the more important aspect of it, they had to explain to us the rationale of what they did when they made the decision. What were the major drivers? Was it cost? Was it flexibility? Was it access to market? Was it supplier? Was it risk? There was 24 different decision drivers that they were there, and in many cases they added a few more on that already long list. And a very detailed description of the product group, so we can have an understanding of what is really happening and the strategy behind it. And of course, the details of the changes. And in many cases, the changes were not one. It wasn't like they invested in China. Sometimes they decided to divest something in the United States and increase the investment in China. Sometimes they did multiple things. They expanded capacity in Europe and in China at the same time. So all of that had to be described in a way that we can understand it. We felt like what was there was mostly at the company level, at the broader financial accounting and financial reporting levels, that we couldn't necessarily decipher what exactly was happening. By going down to a much more focused unit of analysis, we collected information that was much easier for us to understand, and especially what were the motivation, the factors that were driving them. We ended up with having to solicit a lot of companies. I would say easily, probably we approached 400 companies. But finally, we ended up getting completed surveys by the right people, the right executives at the right levels of 85 companies. And the major changes were made in 75 of them that became the main source of the database that we analyzed. The questions that we asked. The research questions were simple, and I think somewhere already I have implied it. We wanted to understand what changes happened with respect to production sourcing. Where did they increase the manufacturing investments they made? In what regions of the world? Where did they divest? What were the situations where they moved capacity or they moved production from one region to another? It was very important for us to understand what were the drivers behind these type of decisions. And in a few cases where a few years had elapsed and they could observe some of the impact, we wanted them to discuss the impact with respect to market share, profitability, ability to service customers, lead times, cost, and all these covariates.